Heater Boats. Progressive Insurance. And by Rapala.
Welcome back to the Bassmaster Classic, the 53rd running of the World Championship of Bass Fishing. As we watch the Expo open up right now to the fans, and this was earlier this week as they built the Bassmaster Outdoors Expo presented by the U.S. Army. This is the biggest Expo we've had for a Bassmaster Classic, according to the reports this week. The fans lined up out the door. They are now in the Expo and are going to be populating all of the booths. We look forward to seeing all the fans of fishing, and they'll obviously gather on later on in the day at the weigh-in Thompson Bowling Arena, where Dave Mercer will weigh in all 55 anglers. Knoxville broke records in 2019. They have been surpassed since then, but they're looking to take it back. Over 154,000 people to break the record. It may do it this week. Welcome into the Bassmaster Studios. Ronnie Moore here with Dave Mercer and Tom Abraham. Guys, first half of the Bassmaster Classic Day 1 has not been too shabby. Big smallmouth showed up for Jeff Gustafson, Dave Mercer.
Big smallmouth, and Gussie's biggest concern going out this morning was the pressure from the other anglers. He felt pretty confident he was going to catch him. But want to talk about pressure. Bigger crowds this time on the Day 1 takeoff than we had last time. And everybody thought that could never be duplicated, but it was bigger today. Over 5,000 people at takeoff, Tom, and people are excited about the Bassmaster Classic.
Well, these Tennessee Vol fans, they need to be excited about something after their Volunteers got beat last night in the March Madness. So they're going to take in this March Madness, which is this tournament. And yeah, I didn't know if Gussie could go back to that canal where he did so much damage a couple of years ago, yet he was able to do it so far. And he's managing those fish well as well, as far as getting his 5 and getting out of there. Got to manage 3 days now instead of 4.
And we're seeing a lot of things, Dave Mercer. We're seeing dirty water. John Cox is fishing in the dirtiest water I've seen this week. You got some water coming into the system where Greg Hackney's at. A lot of different places on Fort Loud and Tellico are starting to show up. You expect to see the largemouth guys as they kind of figure out where those fish went this afternoon, maybe make a charge?
You would imagine. I mean, you outside, it literally feels, it is
Summer
that day.
now.
When it's been cold and nasty. That day when you leave work, you walk out of there and you're like, wait a second, this is spring. They're biting, and it should get better. And that's the question. Can a smallmouth angler like Jeff Gustafson kind of play? It works better in 4 days. I heard Kyle Welcher say that through 4 days, the smallmouth game works better. You could get one of those largemouth guys have a big monster day, and we'll see what's happening. But Day 1, awesome to be here.
I'm not counting out that a 5-pound smallmouth could come across the board, but 5-pound largemouth much more dependable if you're trying to get a big bite. As we take it into the Toyota midday report, we're going to start off with Toyota Pro Brandon Lester and a favorite, not a hometown, not a local, got 6th here in 2019 in the Bassmaster Classic, and honestly, you know this, Dave Mercer, one of the hottest anglers in the sport. 2 wins last year and 2nd in AOY.
The only angler last year that made a paycheck in every single Elite Series event, a win in the Opens and the Elites. Unbelievable. And Tom Abram, I got to feel you're cheering for him.
I am. He's kind of my neighbor, and Ronnie makes a good point. He's not really a local because he is, from Fayetteville,
they just say that going into the event.
State of Tennessee.
So don't
Drama.
look at me.
Come on.
Yeah, but how about this guy here? What a cool shot we've had all morning with, with Greg Hackney catching some smallmouth out of that spillway. This is what live is made for, this shot right here.
Yeah, and I believe this isn't his main deal. This was a good little bonus for him to catch some bigger smallmouth, but if he can take a couple of these smallmouth that are over 18 inches and then maybe put 3 or 4 largemouth with it by the end of the day, we could see Greg Hackney possibly rise up. And the most veteran, we're basically talking about 2 of the most veteran anglers in our field, Greg Hackney and this man, Gerald Swindle, his 20th Classic. And Dave Mercer, he still gets tickled like it's his first one. It still means a whole bunch to this guy.
I'm all about the party, Ronnie, and that's why I want him to win. There would be no bigger party in bass fishing than if Gerald Swindle pulled this off. And you know what? This morning we had a little interaction, and he's more confident going out this morning than I've seen him at a lot of classic takeoffs.
Yeah, he's really fired up for this one. And I'll tell you what, this kid here, Taco Ito, he's another guy that shows great versatility. And, one of the interesting things, we think of Taco and we think of him with the smallmouth and the thread and the spinning outfits and stuff. But he's pretty good with that bait caster as well. Probably fishes it a little more than he lets on.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of a hard situation to be in when everyone expects you to just guarantee to find the smallmouth. That did not happen for Taku Ito in the 4 days of practice. Never got on those 18-inch smallmouth like he wanted. Couldn't find anywhere else other than that canal and did not want to fish around all of those folks. Having to put all of his eggs in the largemouth basket, it's a little uncomfortable when there's smallmouth swimming around and this guy's targeting green ones.
It's happy time. You know, Takumi Ito, just unbelievable, unbridled happiness and excitement, almost childlike excitement. And if anybody has even more of that, it's this dude, John Cox.
This guy didn't want a camera. He said that when they said to him, about putting a camera in his boat, he said, "I didn't catch a fish in practice. Are you sure you want to put a camera with me?" But that's John Cox, and he's a throwback. He told me he won't run his boat over 40 miles an hour running down the Tennessee River.
There's a couple factors in that. Definitely gas consumption and the condition of his boat at the moment after Lake Seminole. But John Cox trying to harness what he did in 2021. He was not in the Classic here in 2019, but anglers have said, like Chris Zaldane have said all week, it's kind of a mixture of both of the tournaments we've had here. Well, John Cox, a third in 2021. He's trying to keep that Fritz side in his hand and do the same thing. Meanwhile, this guy, he's the defending champ, but no one's going to take his trophy he won last year. He's just trying to rein it in and get a second one. Jason Christie, our defending Classic champion. Only 4 anglers have gone back-to-back, but quite a few have recently, Dave. Can he do it and be the 5th angler to do so?
Anybody that says he can't is a fool. I mean, look at him. What can't he do? And he is even more motivated this year. He said it was a bigger thrill than he ever imagined. It's like being the fishing's prom queen. I mean, every party you go to, every fest, you've got that trophy over your shoulder, and all eyes are on you. He says he wants to feel that again. But feel-good story of this event right there, Brandon Card.
Earlier this season when I went out with Ronnie and Kyle Justin, we did a prediction show, and I didn't want to get too much on Brandon Carr because I didn't know what it would be like, coming off of the tough situation that he had. But I'll tell you what, I put him on my fantasy team this week. I really did. I think he's got a great opportunity. He's the closest thing to a local we got.
For 100%, that's a good point you mentioned that. There's, 6, 7 Tennessee anglers in our field this week, but none of them have lived on the shores of Fort Loudon and Tellico. They've lived maybe an hour away. This guy spent a couple years of his life living near Fort Loudon and Tellico, and that bodes well for him just knowledge-wise. Guy who caught basically the first fish on Bassmaster Live of this year's Classic, Seth Fighter. A couple people looking at him. He is an underrated shallow cranker, especially dirty, clean water. Doesn't matter, Dave Mercer.
He is one you got to watch everywhere you go, and he's been a little quiet. If you look after that angler of the year that he won, it's definitely like he's gone into a little bit of a funk, and no better way to get out of that funk than raise the most coveted trophy in professional bass fishing.
He needed less than $10,000 to join the Bass Millionaires Club. He did not get a check in the first 2 events, but as soon as he weighs in some fish this week, he'll be a Bass Millionaire.
That is a sweet stat that I'm going to use on the weigh-in stage.
Yeah, it is a good stat. Now, this guy here, Matt Robertson, I ran into him. He's the only angler I ran into at the Bassmaster kickoff party last night. He had a Miller Lite in his hand, and I said, "Shouldn't you be sharpening a hook or doing something?" And he says, "Man, I'm ready to go, and if there's a party, I'm at the party." I would challenge you on your Gerald Swindle party that maybe Matt Robinson's party would be even bigger.
Well, a guy who would love to party a second time in Knoxville. I had stories of him getting pizza on the shores because he had secured his win so early in 2021. Jeff Gustafson really committing to the smallmouth as expected, but ultra confident. Dave Mercer, he's talked to you about it plenty. He said there are even more fish in this canal, and he's got a couple schools in Tellico that maybe he can save, and that'll be dangerous.
Yeah, he said he was amazed that there was more. But the difference is the conversion rate has drastically changed. Last time, it was kind of 2 for 1. For every 2 you mark, you catch one. He says now at times you've got to mark 15 of them before you get one. But he's the best at doing what he is in the world.
One big problem with this whole game plan, though, is Jeff Gustafson. It's working out 17-4. You got guys like Corey Johnston.
You really hate him.
No, Corey Johnston's bass track's not completely updated. He's going to be in the top 5. You have Drew Benton right there. They're all near him, and that's the only thing is you're going to have more people who aren't practicing right now that may be wearing on some of those fish in some of those key areas. We'll see if the smallmouth guys hold up, especially as it gets warmer every day of this event.
You're committed. You're committed. I mean, you told him he couldn't do it months ago, and And wow, he's
No, I
leading the
told him
Bassmaster
it couldn't
Classic.
be done,
Still
you
not
know.
impressed.
I need to see him get over 20 pounds, you know, and then I'll lay off of him, okay, Mercer? Just 20 pounds and we'll lay off.
All right, all right.
Small part. As you see, the 10 cameras we have out on day one, you see them ranging up there by Knoxville, just south of Takeoff, Brandon Card, Greg Hackney, Gerald Swindle, and as you make your way past some of the other anglers, the only one truly in Tellico right now, other than Jeff Gustafson, would be Brandon Polinick, which is a significant run. That's over an hour of your day, one way, spent to travel there.
With a backup boat. I mean, he tore his boat up in practice, and he's in an unwrapped backup boat and made that run down there. It's a little bit dangerous on the river, you know, with the rains that came in and so on.
But yeah, not a whole lot happened. I just caught like a 17-incher a little bit ago. Got a bite, but got one in there that's not quite a 3-pounder, so I'd like to upgrade that if possible. But yeah, got lots of time to hunt around here some more. So
Gussie rocking the KDJ, the Kenora dinner jacket. Once again, it is a multifaceted fashion device, and it harnesses some power for the Great Canadian Snow Leopard. Traditionally seen in the red and white color, but he's decided to go with a blue model. See how that changes through the week.
Plaid snow leopard.
It might not get nearly as warm, and even though the air temperature today is warm, you're not having that intense sun penetration that definitely warms up the water for those shallow anglers. And so it looks like with the cloud cover that has soaked in, maybe the dinner jacket is appropriate attire for him, especially out on the main drag.
I mean, he can chop a tree down or go to a dinner. I mean, it is it doesn't matter what you're doing. Or win the Bassmaster Classic.
I honestly, you know, Jeff Gustafson lives a great life, and I kind of envy him and the weather that they have most of the year. Once it hits about November till about February, I no longer want to be Jeff Gustafson because it is treacherous up in his part.
November to February?
Yeah.
My man, it's still snowing in early May.
Well, true, but it's not 12 feet deep or something, you know.
Hey, I live in Canada, and I don't want to live where he lives in the winter.
Beautiful, though, where he's from. He guides up there. It was at Lake of the Woods, and it's absolutely, I mean, that's a bucket list place for a fisherman.
You see that right there on the bottom of the screen. You can scan the QR code to see some of the stories on Bassmaster.com, and this week is very interesting. We talk about it with a lot of anglers. Ones who have Elite Series success, the Classic doesn't necessarily translate because the week is so different. They practice Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. They have a couple days off, then Wednesday, and then another day off, and then they start the tournament. This week, Dave Mercer, less than 40 degrees every day, raining, cold, and now it's 80 degrees the next 3 days. How in the world do these guys, have they talked to you about how they tried to approach practice with everything being opposite of what you just practiced for?
There's anglers fishing today. Cooper Gallant is one of them that straight up said he does not have a waypoint or a starting spot. He literally was just going to fish free and fluid, and I think that's going to be a big part of this event. I mean, that's one of the reasons I honestly really like the Classic this time of year. You'll get people who say a summer Classic, but summer is the most stable time. I mean, you get locked onto one thing, there's not those challenges. That's what the Bassmaster Classic is all about. I mean, it's Ray Scott's evil dream. Hey, you think tournaments are tough? Here's what we're going to do. We're going to have festivities and parties every night. We're going to make you work a trade show. We're going to separate the pre-fish by a week, and then we're going to give you a little taste of pre-fish for one day, pull you from that, send you to the Night of Champions. Then we're going to do Media Day where you talk to 732 people, and then the next morning, hey, go back and find those fish.
Why don't you just say Chris Johnson so that you could have mentioned every Canadian angler in the first 10 minutes of the the hour? I mean, just go ahead and get him in there too. No, Cooper, I love Cooper Gallant. I think he's going to be a superstar.
He'll never be on your radio show again.
He has and will be again. He is a budding superstar. It'll be interesting to see how far this water temperature does come up. I've heard guys saying that they think it'll touch 70 degrees by Sunday. It was in the low 50s, 51, 52 degrees, but you know, we had a cold snap here in the last week and a half. It had been warm in Tennessee, and this water was up into the, you know, high 50s just a few weeks ago.
I need one more bass. I think the afternoon is good, better, I think. So because the shade right here, so fish come under the dock. But hopefully, I think every day afternoon is better. Afternoon I get the big bite. So hopefully I want to get the bite.
You think this is an accurate thought based on everything that's changed from Wednesday to now? I think that we'll see someone on Bass Trek that has a legitimate 0 or a legitimate 1 fish at noon or 1 o'clock, and they could be in contention to win on Championship Sunday late in the day there, just because it can change so quick. This afternoon could be big for someone, and they could roll that into a Saturday game plan and a Sunday game plan.
You have to believe it's a possibility. But if we've learned one thing at the first 2 Elite Series events, especially Seminole, anglers this time of year, we want it to happen so quick, and sometimes it just doesn't happen that quick. But that's why we have this gig.
We get to watch it happen.
You can stick around and find out as it goes on.
Yeah, and I agree. I think we could see some late fireworks, no doubt.
We will see you guys in just a moment after a short commercial break. Make sure you send us via hashtag Bassmaster Classic how you are watching the action today, and we will see you in just a moment. Bassmaster Live, day 1.
Fireworks. Fireworks.
Plenty of sunshine. Come on, man, let's roll.
What the?
To catch the fish, you need to be one with the fish.
With Power Pole shallow water anchors, you'll get the ultimate in precision, power, and control, so you can catch more fish. No face paint or phony fins necessary.
Fishing to your greatest potential requires planning and preparation and every advantage out there to perform at the